Well, hi guys, welcome back to Abus and Beyond. And if you'd seen the video where I did the framing around the window, you'll know that I attempted to secure our Vandermoon overhead lockers, but I failed because I didn't have the right fitting kit. So the fitting kit has arrived. I am now going to make a bit of an attempt at trying to install at least this overhead locker here. Sort of gives a bit of storage up at the front here. I can't do the ones at the back just yet because there's still some work I need to do behind where that is going to go. There's a couple more cables I need to run for a future project that you'll see in a later video. But the first thing I need to do is actually take down at least two of these the ceiling boards. Just unfortunately I need to take them down and I need to secure the fitting brackets that go in between the actual sort of struts that go across the roof. But I'll take these down and then we'll have a look. Right, now this is what we were waiting for. This is how we are going to fix the actual Vandermoon system to the roof. And essentially what happens is these slot in between the two struts. So as you can see, you have like cross members going across the actual van. And then these, we've got loads of different sizes of these. They fit in between, and that then gives me something to fix, something sturdy to fix the actual Vandermoon overhead locker to. Right, you can see how many different sizes we've got. Obviously the biggest, there's one really big one, one slightly smaller one, three of this size. That's a little bit shorter, that's a little bit shorter again, and then that's the shortest. So I suspect the longest one, I did measure them all out, but it's a little while ago since I measured them all out. I suspect the longest one slots in there, like so. Right, I've just taken a bit of time to actually adjust all these to the right size, and then I've marked inside what length they are. So we've got 39 centimeters, 61 centimeters, and then these three are actually going to be for up at the back there. So we don't need to worry about that just yet. So they brace between the two. They're going to be fixed in the side. This one isn't actually going to be supporting the Vandermoon overhead locker. I don't trust that that wood would be strong enough. Plus, it's going to be a bit further back. It's actually going to be between these two, really. So that's why I have adjusted this to length, and that will then slot in nicely in there. And then the same with that one. Will go up in the back there. So I just need to work out now. I just need to drill and fix them into place and make sure they're in the right place, so that I can then, once they're put in, I need to lift the Vandermoon box up into there, mark it, and then, yeah, work out how I'm actually going to attach it. So I'm actually using these, well, if it works, I'm using these tech screws. So they need a starter hole, really. The insulation just gets caught in the screws, and then it becomes impossible to do anything with it. So this one isn't actually going to, like I said, isn't going to be used for the Vandermoon box. So I'm not too worried about the fact that this is on wood, which isn't really that sturdy. This is just actually, I'm putting this in because when the Vandermoon box is on, this will probably be used to sort of trim, to help give a fixing for the trim around here. I might put a little shelf in. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to finish all this off, but it just gives me some options at least to fix to. These ones are going to be the more important ones, so I need to install them now. My arms can't cope with working at height. Like above you all the time, the blood just goes. I used these spikes to put the insulation up ages ago. You sort of, you can't really see the spikes anymore because I've just pulled the spikes off. These have spikes on, and you stick them to the ceiling, and then you put the insulation, just stab the insulation, and then they have these like fitting things that go on the top just to secure it up. Funny enough, when I put all this on, when I put the insulation on way back right at the start of the build, they just kept falling off, and then when I actually want to remove it, it won't budge at all. It's like rock solid. Typical. Right, we can see the row of brackets. They're all up, they're nice and secure. Now what I need to do is I need to try and lift the Vandermoon box into place and mark where I need to put Rivnuts in here. That's going to be quite tricky on my own. Oh, yes. Get in. These are an absolute saviour for things like that. It's called a Marksman. Highly recommend getting one. Basically, it's just a shot of chalk. It's a marking tool, but the thing is, it fires through, even if the hole isn't touching the actual thing that you're going to fix to, if that makes sense. You then get these marks. So you've got two there, and then two up there. And if you don't want them, you can just rub them off and do it again. But yeah, highly recommend a Marksman tool. In order to actually fix the Vandermoon unit to the actual roof, I'm going to put Rivnuts in. I'm going to put little M6 Rivnuts in and then bolt through with M6 bolts. Now, there's loads of different ways you can actually fit these. I explained that in the previous video when I was actually working on this, but that was a little while ago now. But you can use like airline rail, but it's got it's used a lot for like tie down points on the back of vans and things like that, and it has like little almost holes all the way along, and then it comes with these. You can just slot that in, and then it has like a little wing nut. So that is much better if you want to easily remove the Vandermoon box. So say you have a works van that you occasionally use for camping, these are ideal. So you just slot that in the rail and then put it up and put the actual moon box on, and then wing nut the actual nut on. But we're never going to remove it, and we've not got the airline rail, so I'm actually doing a more permanent method, which is using Rivnuts. And this actually, using this method, that actually gives you the full maximum load capacity of the Vandermoon box, which is what we want. This is quite a beastly Rivnut tool. Sometimes the ones from Amazon, it's not too bad when you're using M6, but for the bed frame I had to use, I can't remember, it was like M12 or something. and the Amazon ones, you just couldn't get the leverage on it, whereas this is like a ratcheting one. I just can never remember actually how to use it. That's the only problem, because they go so long between using it. I can never really remember. That's what the Rivnuts look like when they're in, and then they'll just accept a bolt, an M6 bolt through them. Right, well, it's a few hours on. I had some lunch, and then I've just been trying to make it look like it's going to be okay, sort of once the Vandermoon box is up. Like, so the bit all around the sides and at the back, it all needs painting, and it's really hard to get the lines correct in places. So what I've done is I basically tried to continue the roof round and down towards the wall. I've cut out the holes where the Rivnuts are, so when I lift that up and attach it in, it will go straight up and into the Rivnuts, which are up there. And then at the front I've done the same sort of thing, so I've continued round. I just can't quite get the angle right because it's more than 45 degrees and my saw doesn't cut more than 45 degrees, so it's not great. You can see a gap there, but I've used some flexible wood filler before and that's looked really good, so I'm probably just going to fill the gap with that. I think once it's painted it'll look okay, and it's all really sturdy, which is the main thing. Next thing I need to do is I've got some holes here. I've got a hole here which is for reading lights and things like that, and I want them to come out the bottom of the Vandermoon box. So I've just marked up where it is, and I'm actually going to just drill a hole. I've got to be careful because obviously it's fabric, but I'm going to drill a hole through. There's fabric on the outside, but then there is wood on the inside, so I'm just going to drill all the way through, and then that will give me somewhere that the cables can come out, and then I'll just be able to clip them in to the inside of the box, and then out the bottom for a reading light. Just going to check where that's going to come out on the inside, make sure it's not going to make a mess of anything on the inside. So it just depends where. Typically I think it's right where the, looks like it might be right where the shelf is, so I've got to be really careful of that. I'm just going to drill a pilot hole and see where that comes out. Right, so it's just beneath the shelf. The mess I'm making in here is unbelievable. If you're a clean worker, this would drive you mad. This has definitely been just one of those jobs, you know. And it's certainly not the product that's the issue. It's just everything, you know. The biggest factor is the fact that I should have planned for these boxes when I built the ceiling and everything. It would have been far quicker. Right, as you can see, I've chopped a hole through. So that should, you know, it won't be, but it should be where that hole is. But yeah, it won't be. It wouldn't be an ABusAndBeyond build without having to race off to B&Q. As always, they didn't have the right size bolts, really, I don't think. Anyway, I couldn't find them, so I just had to get some M6x100s and cut them down. So I'm just checking the threads aren't wrecked. Well, there's no surprising how long this has taken to do, because it's now night time outside, as you can see. But the box is up. There's been a few things that I've done. You can see the box next to me. Look at that. That's fancy, isn't it? There's a few things that I've done. So I had M6 by 50 bolts, which I held it up. Lizzie tried to put the bolts in, but they just wouldn't fit. Just couldn't get them into the actual Rivnuts. So I just assumed that the bolts weren't long enough. I knew they weren't far off, but they just weren't quite long enough. So I nipped to B&Q. I picked up the next size up annoyingly they had was M6 by 100. So I cut them down to about M6 by 80, and then I drove them up, fitted the box with them. But as I was tightening them up, they weren't actually getting any tighter, and I was just getting scared that they were going to poke all the way through and up into the roof of the van. I did have a quick check on the top, and it's fine. So what I did is I did them all up reasonably tight, like not fully tight, and obviously they weren't tightening up. And then I fixed the back into place, and I did that using real long tech screws, so it goes through the wood and into the metal, the inner skin of the van. And then once that was sort of in place and I was happy with how that was all secure, I then took there's 4 bolts at the top. I took those M6 by 100 bolts out one at a time and trimmed them down. Funny enough, when I took the first one out, I tried that M6 by 50 again, and it fit in fine. So I think what it was is just because it's soft at the top, you just couldn't quite get the force on it to get it started in the actual Rivnut. Once there were some bolts in there to pull it tight, you could then easily get that M6 by 50 bolt in. So I've actually trimmed them all down to be the same size as that M6 by 50. Well, for like the first time in what feels like months, the sun is shining. It is absolutely glorious today. It's lovely, sort of frozen over this morning. But yeah, really, really nice. So the perfect light to actually show you, finally, what the Vandermoon box looks like. With the back panel all painted and everything like that. So it all looks really, really good. Let's take a look. So yeah, we've got the Vandermoon box. Obviously, we had a quick look in it before, but just unzip that and down it drops. We've got the shelving in here. You can see how it's all bolted through the back. And then also we've got the cables in here, which I will trim and drill through the bottom and fit a reading light in there, which should look pretty good. And just give a bit more lighting. There's 2 in there because one of them is actually for mood lighting. And originally, before we even decided to have the Vandermoon boxes, I was going to maybe have mood lighting along the ceiling, but obviously you can't do that here, so I need to work out a different method for a bit of evening sort of ambient lighting just to make it a bit nicer. But we'll look at that sometime. And then as I work my way further back, you can see how it blends quite nicely into the roof here. So I used a bit of wood filler in places just to give a bit of a better blend between the wall into the ceiling, and I think it looks okay actually. It might actually need another coat of paint, but that's fine, we can do that. Well, Lizzie can do that, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I really like the fact that we now actually have some storage in the van, and it looks good. And again, here you can see from the back of the bed here up is going to be a wall here, so we'll probably have another shelving unit in between that wall and the Vandermoon box just to put other bits and pieces up there. But it fits perfectly next to the skylight, so that is nicely put back, sort of back against that, and also it is just the right height above the window as well. Now you may think that that was all perfectly planned and all perfectly measured, but there's a hell of a lot of fluke involved in there. So that height above the window is, I mean, that's partly down to obviously Vandermoon design it to be that height above the window, but also, you know, people don't always put the same windows in, so we could have potentially, I could have potentially cut that opening out a little bit higher up. Thankfully, I didn't, and it all fits perfectly. And the same with the roof light. There are different size roof lights, but again, it fits perfectly. Pure fluke. You'll notice, obviously, that although the window is there, the box is set a bit further back. There's a couple of reasons why I've done that. Firstly is much better fixing point with it being a bit further back. It was where the two bolts go up through the roof there, up into the roof. It was sort of straddling one of the struts which runs across here and one of those brackets that I put in, so it's just better to put it further back. Also, we want to put some sort of decorative shelf here with maybe a plant on it just to make it look a bit more homely, because obviously there's a lot of white and grey here. So we're going to put a shelf, maybe paint it the same colour as the kitchen, which would look quite nice. Yeah, and it would just allow us to I'm not going to put anything too heavy on there. I just want to put maybe a plant or something. You'll be amazed at how even just a little shelf like that, for me, takes a lot of thought process. So I'm not going to do that today. So yeah, we're really pleased with how the Vandermoon box looks. It gives us plenty of storage. It's a really good size, and yet pretty lightweight, actually. If you compared this to all being made out of wood, it'd be a lot heavier. So that's really good. And also just softer, which is going to make a big difference when we put a couple in the back bedroom area. That'd be really good. So to make these boxes specifically for Sprinters, Crafters, Renaults, Transits, all sorts of different vans. So you just go onto their website, which will be linked in the description below, and you can click through different models and styles of van depending on what you've got. And then you've also got, this is the Moonbox Standard. There's also an Adventure variant, and it's the Adventure ones that we're putting in the back. So stay tuned for that video when eventually I get round to the back area and paneling all that and everything. They come in different lengths as well. So this is actually one of the biggest ones you can get. So this is really long, tons of storage, and you can get them in loads of different colours. This is the grey one. There is actually a darker grey, which is like an anthracite colour. You can get them in green, red, blue. I think that's all the colours. But yeah, so you can really personalise the inside of your van with the colours of these. But yeah, we think these are a great product. If you're interested, like I say, click on the link in the description below and check out the range that they have. They've also got loads of other things like the moon organisers that you saw at the back that we actually put on the rear doors. Fantastic use of space, which would otherwise be just wasted space because it's on the back doors there. But they've also got a new thing that's coming, a moon kitchen as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get hands on one of those just to have a look at and see how that works. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. If you've liked this video, please click that thumbs up button and also consider subscribing, because as you can see, there is tons more stuff left to do inside this van. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Cheers!